Now, this is getting creepy. And after the day's upload, there will be no doubt in your mind that David had something to do with Celeste unaliving. And not only that, he's trying to cover it up in a very weird way. We're going to take a quick deep dive into some of the weird things that David has been doing. And like I said, after today, there'll be no doubt in your mind that David has been doing something very weird in the background, and he knows a lot more than what he's saying. And after this new evidence, oh, there's just nothing to say. There's nothing to say. So make sure y'all hit that like button. But let's get into this because it's just nothing to say. All right, I'm looking at this, and it's been breaking news yet again over David and Celeste that David reportedly transferred his ownership of his Texas homes to his mom. That's really weird. But it also shows that David is getting counsel. His lawyers are telling him what to do. But not only are they telling him what to do, they're actually strategizing for the future with David. I've looked at this complex article, I read it, and then I started to think about stuff that was actually common sense in my mind, but it's like a question that nobody asked, but it's right there in front of everybody. And I'm going to ask that question at the end of this video, and I want y'all to answer the question in the comments. How come something very obvious right in front of us? But let's get into this deep dive real quick, and I'm going to let y'all know what got me to this conclusion. This article reads, and it's been many articles that just came out saying that David reportedly transfers ownership of his Texas homes to his mother. Parents answered the door off after officers showed up at his Houston residence following a swatting call. Now, that swatting call was actually done by, it could have been people just watching him play Fortnite, but just looking at it now, it says David transferred the deeds to his two Texas homes to his mother last month, according to TMZ. The singer reportedly made one of those changes on September 18th, the same day that police were called to the Houston residence after a swatting call in which someone falsely reported that there was a dead female in the home following a shooting. David's parents answered the door when officers arrived, informing them that this younger brother and sister were also residing there. The deed for the other home was transferred on September 22nd. So he's moving deeds around as if he wants to duck lawsuits, he wants to duck culpability. Also, when you're being brought in on different charges, a lot of times your assets can become frozen. So it's very interesting to see him taking these matters into his own hands and moving things around, because if he has nothing to hide and he doesn't feel like he's going to lose anything, why would you do this? Very interesting. But like I said, there's a deeper question I'm going to ask at the end of this, and it's all going to come together for you. It says the singer, the deed for the other one was transferred on September 22nd. In a statement shared with Complex earlier this week, the Los Angeles Police Department said David is not considered a suspect at the moment, while the cause of Celeste Rivas Hernandez's death remains unclear. The Los Angeles County Medical Examiner has not yet determined the cause of or manner of Miss Rivas Hernandez's death. The statement reads, as such, it remains unclear whether there is any criminal culpability beyond the concealment of her body. In an interview with People, Scott M. Williams, commanding officer of the LAPD's robbery homicide divisions, said the Tesla registered to David had been parked at a location from which it was towed for several weeks, leading authorities to suspect Rivas Hernandez's body spent the entire time in the vehicle. We know that the Tesla had been parked in that location from which it was towed for several weeks. So it is very likely Celeste Rivas Hernandez had been dead for several weeks prior to her body being discovered. Now, what also do we know? That before her body was discovered, it had decomposed so badly that it took weeks for them actually to identify her body, right? And I just found that very interesting. But not only that, I'm also going to pose this question at the end. So leading up to that, what do we know so far about Celeste? What we know of the investigation so far? A decomposing body was found inside a Tesla belonging to musician David at an impound lot in Hollywood on September 8th. The car was brought to the impound lot after some reported it abandoned in Hollywood Hills, and police were called after workers reported a strong odor coming from the Tesla. Mind you, she was in there for weeks. The Tesla was never reported as stolen. The body was discovered inside a bag in the Tesla's front trunk. The remains were not intact and had been badly decomposed. The remains were so decomposed that it took authorities more than a week to identify the body. The remains were eventually identified as 15-year-old Celeste Rivas. David has a matching tattoo with Rivas, and her mother said she has been missing for over a year and that her daughter's boyfriend's name was David. David initially decided to continue his world tour while cooperating with the investigation, but he canceled the remainder of his tour on Wednesday. An unreleased love song written by David references someone by the name of Celeste in the unfinished title and twice in the lyrics. Police raided a home connected to David as they continue the investigation. David moves out of the home that the police raided. Authorities have not officially deemed the death a homicide since medical examiners have been unable to determine an official cause of death, and David is not considered a suspect at this point. So she was so decomposed in that vehicle that medical examiners can't even get a determination on what actually caused her death. Now, it's also being reported that David was paying off kids from that neighborhood, other 13 and 12-year-olds, telling them, don't tell on them, don't talk about it, paying them off. Also, it's being reported that the family of Celeste said she disappeared about a year ago, but on this channel, we actually did an update maybe a couple days ago showing that she actually was back home towards the end of last year. So she actually disappeared when she turned maybe 14. Okay? But I also said at the beginning of this video, not only is he looking like he's hiding something through just transferring assets. If you have nothing to hide, why are you transferring assets? But I also posed this other question. If Celeste was your friend, if Celeste is somebody you know, if Celeste is somebody that let's say David wasn't in a relationship with her, that's one of his closest friends, got to be one of his closest friends. They got the same tattoo. Not only do they have the same tattoo, but they were always seen together. They were seen on stream together. They were very cozy with each other. But let's say they weren't in a relationship. How come David, after somebody very, very close to him, maybe the closest person to him, after their body was found in his Tesla, how come he's never even made a statement? How come he's never even acknowledged what happened? And I ask this question because in what world is one of your closest, if not only friends, dying in your Tesla and you show no emotion towards it? You have no statements for it. You have no nothing. You just continue playing Fortnite. Humming and playing Fortnite. It's almost as if you already knew she was in that Tesla and you've come to grips that she won't be here. It's almost as if you knew she would be in the Tesla. You've made songs about this subject and you've moved on already. Everybody else is just catching up, but you've moved on mentally, emotionally, physically. I find that very interesting. He hasn't even given us a peep of emotion about one of his nearest and dearest friends. But beyond that, every clue from the family to Celeste's friends to the pictures we see, to the tattoos, says that they were lovers. Even in the music, it sounds like they were lovers. So at what point does one of your deepest lovers, I'm a musician myself who makes deep music, if you make deep music like that, you get intertwined. Somebody like that passed and you don't even flinch. I think that tells you everything you need to know, people. Drop it in the comments. Let me know what y'all think about that. Let me know what y'all think about David transferring ownership and liability of his assets over to his parents. And also, give me a response to the question I just asked. How come he hasn't even flinched with emotion? He hasn't even put out a statement. Say it wasn't his girlfriend, his friend. We know she's your friend. You don't feel any type of way that one of your closest friends aren't here. You're just going to keep playing Fortnite. I think that tells us everything we need to know, everyone. So drop it in the comments. Like I said, I had some comments on this video, and well, the last few Celeste videos I did, and I said I would keep going with this Celeste situation until we got to the bottom of it, because it kind of hit me near and dear to the heart. You know, and we're going to get to the bottom of it on this channel. We're not going to stop until we get to the bottom of it. We're going to keep asking questions. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep it up. All right. So y'all drop it in the comments. Let me know what y'all think about that. David's out here moving very weird. All right. It's your boy, What's Up, G. If ain't nobody told you they love y'all, I love y'all. Also, if you ever need somebody to talk to, don't be afraid to reach out to people and talk to them. You know, you never know what somebody's going through, and you never know how some people can end up in situations with other people actually preying on them. And a lot of times it can be prevented with just having somebody to talk to. All right. So I'm out, y'all. Make sure y'all drop a like on this, and I'll see y'all in the next update.